For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Viral star and food critic Keith Lee has been making noise online for his restaurant reviews for quite some time. The conversation surrounding restaurant culture and customer service was highly debated after he shared his experience eating right here in Atlanta. Over the weekend, Lee paid a visit to several notable restaurants, including Atlanta Breakfast Club, the Seafood Menu, Juicy Jerk, The Real Milk and Honey, Old Lady Gang, and several more. After his reviews, some of which weren't favorable to the restaurants, despite some of his less than stellar reviews in his videos, Lee constantly stressed that he does not support, agree, or condone shaming the businesses based on his own experiences, and encouraged those watching to attend the restaurant themselves before leaving a bad review. Lee's currently getting a mix of pushback for highlighting the negative aspects of some of Atlanta's Black-owned businesses. At the same time, he's gaining support for calling out some restaurants who seem to take advantage of their customers. About Atlanta Breakfast Club, Lee said,
"The customer service was interesting. While the people were nice, the rules they had set were very unique to me. We initially tried to do takeout, but when we came in, they said we couldn't sit down, and there was no space at the bar for us to stand. So we had to stand outside to order our food. Then we decided we just gonna dine in. But two people in our party stepped out for a second, because again, we fresh off the plane, so everybody was trying to get situated. The waitress, again, she was nice, but she told us she couldn't take any orders or she couldn't do anything until everybody sat down. No water, no coffee, no drink orders, no nothing. She also said they can only do one order and there's no add-ons. Like, if you want to add on afterwards, it's a wrap. She wouldn't even explain the menu to us. But again, she was very nice. I just understand that those are their rules. Unique to me, but it is what it is."
Now, when it came to The Real Milk and Honey, Lee had this to say.
And so far being in Atlanta, I found some places do have unique rules, and this is one of them. I want to be very clear, we're not blaming one person or saying one person was rude. Don't call this restaurant trying to get nobody fired. Ain't nobody do nothing. This is just the rules they had. If you don't like their rules not for you. And for me and my family, the rules just went for us. Afterwards, I did walk in and they did recognize me and they attended the services, but I respectfully declined. I'm a normal person. I pay for my food like everybody else. We are all normal people. Respectfully, if you're not going to do it then, don't do it now. God bless you.
Now, before Lee visited the restaurant Old Lady Gang, he told his followers while attending one music fest, he was told that Kandi Burrugh's team had reached out to him to get him to come to their restaurant. After his visit, Lee said he was frustrated because when the family went into the restaurant, they were told the wait time was anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. However, when Lee entered the restaurant, he was told a table would be ready in 5 minutes. This was also the case when Lee visited Toast on Lennox. In response to Lee's review, the owner of The Real Milk and Honey would post a video on their TikTok. Here's what they had to say.
Did you see this Keith Lee video about The Real Milk and Honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee?
Yeah.
No.
In addition to their response, the house rules for The Real Milk and Honey began making its rounds online, where some of the rules read, "We guaranteed great food. Everything else is left to chance. We try our hardest though, we really do. No modifications to any of the menu items. If you have a food allergy, please choose another item without the allergen. No reservations unless you're Barack Obama. Hey, there's exceptions to every rule." So after getting dragged online for the way they handled the response, the restaurant put out a press release that read, "Today we extend our apologies to all as we address a recent incident that highlighted a review from a high-profile food blogger. In no way were we trying to discredit anyone. If the comments came across as such, kindly accept our apologies. It's crucial to always take feedback and make improvements for the success of our business and our community. We've taken time to reflect on the incident and have started internal corrective actions with our team regarding communication styles. The house rules that are circulating are outdated, and the current one is to be published soon on our social media platforms so everyone can see it's a vibe, not rules." Kandi Burrughs will also release a response video to Lee's review, and this is what she had to say.
I really just wanted to say I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family. We would have loved to, okay? But he's right. We don't take to-go orders on the weekends. The simple reason is because we do love and appreciate the people who come and support our restaurant. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support, people in our city that show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. We don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having to, have such long times for the people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to do to-go orders, because obviously that would make the wait times even longer. So that's the reason for that. For those of you, I saw a couple of people was like, why wouldn't they take to-go orders? Well, that's why. Outside of that, I want to say thanks to Keith for trying to even show up to our restaurant and show us love. Thanks for trying to bring your family by. Maybe next time we'll still get a chance to serve you. Okay?
Lee's food reviews and the response to those would receive a mixed response online. Some would criticize Lee for talking bad about Black-owned businesses, while others would support him for giving a voice to the everyday person. One user would write, F Keith Lee. You can screenshot this to him if you like. I do not understand how this ish person feels. It's his mission to go around bad-mouthing Black-owned businesses. Who hurt him? In defense of Lee, Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. would respond by saying, some lady said F Keith Lee because he's tearing down Black businesses. Shut your A up. If the customer service wasn't garbage, he wouldn't have nothing to talk about but the food. Black-owned don't mean that you can't be criticized, especially by your own people. Maybe if you listen to the people without a platform who complained before, you would have got publicly praised instead of called out. Not to mention he tells his followers not to bully or antagonize. The brother is a good man. Some places just do bad business. Joining me, we have our very own borderline analyst, Danielle Miller, calling in, as well as our very own John to join in on this conversation. This one's near and dear to my heart. Y'all know I love Black-owned businesses,
Right.
And I love talking about it, holding them accountable. So let's dive in. John, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to this? They're saying that Keith is, hurting Black-owned businesses. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, just hearing the intro, I just kind of got pretty upset, like angry, because the disrespect that we show each other, and this is not directly addressing what you just asked me with Keith.
Yeah.
It's just the fact, like, hearing those house rules be laid up. We do things to each other that I said again in a previous episode that we want to do to other races, but we just lay things up in a way that I'm comfortable with you. Familiarity breeds disrespect. So I'm familiar with you, so I'm gonna feel like I can disrespect you. And I do think those house rules feel disrespectful, in my honest opinion. Now, on the spectrum, I feel like some of us will take white acceptance over the Black dollar, because I do think that these businesses that have these rules, they would be more than happy if they had white customers. They would damn near have it like a trophy and prize. To address the question, I don't think Keith Lee is hurting Black businesses. I think that he's more so holding them accountable, and I think it's so necessary in this climate, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, because I want to extend out on the house rule conversation. Danielle, let me bring you in. Focusing on your reaction, they're saying that Keith Lee is hurting Black-owned businesses because of his reviews. What are your thoughts and reactions to that?
Not hurting Black-owned businesses. They hurt themselves because he's only reporting on his experience, and that's it. And that's what he does. It's not like he's doing something different with him being in Atlanta. If you follow his TikTok, he's doing the same thing that he's done wherever he goes to eat. He's just giving an honest review. And then also, if you listen to Keith Lee, he also says, he does this thing with his hand, and he's like, again, this is my experience. I encourage you all to have your own experience. He does that. So it's not him that's tearing down the Black businesses. It's them who's doing it to themselves. And they're doing it to themselves because I don't know what it is until with Black-owned businesses, until things start hitting your pocket, that's when you realize how valuable the Black dollar is.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give my 2 cents because again, this is right up my alley. When I created my show Black Friday Report, it was to give feedback. And every time I have a guest, I always say, I want your honest feedback because that's the only way a company can grow.
Right.
The only way you know how you're providing the service to your audience is by getting the feedback from your audience.
Right.
So for me, I don't think at all that he's hurting Black-owned businesses. I love and appreciate that he encourages, hey, go have your own experience. This is just mine. Because that's what we do. When you have an experience, you can give that constructive feedback. And I don't think Black businesses should, be taken out of that. Oh, you can't be held accountable because you're Black owned.
Right.
I don't support black-owned because you're a black-owned business.
Right.
I support good black-owned businesses.
Right.
Give me good service. Show me that you care about my dollar, and then it's going to continue to change. And I'm going to give that review. So I appreciate it.
I definitely think that accountability is key. You
Yeah.
know, I bet you a lot of those black businesses are tightening up now.
Yeah.
Right? Now that there's a conversation, I've seen that happen with another restaurant here in the city that they put out a tweet and it went viral. And it makes a company want to tighten up.
Yeah.
Bad reviews, that's what it's supposed to be. You get customer feedback. You can't be afraid of feedback if you want growth at the same time.
Yeah.
So I do think the response that the real Milk and Honey, because we want to get that right, the real Milk and Honey, because
Yeah.
there's two different restaurants. I think that their response turned a lot of people off because, again, the service industry is based off of humility. And I think we can dive more into what's going on in Atlanta specifically, but their response was not one of, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because
Their first response.
should have been like, bad. That's dope that his brother took time and be able to give us feedback. And I think we have to be okay with that. And I agree with you, Symphony. Just because you're a black-owned business don't mean that you get the green light just off the strength of that alone.
Yeah.
We need good businesses.
Yeah. And
I've
they're out
seen
there.
like a lot of people try to just run with that. Well, support me because I'm black-owned business and then just be trash.
Yeah.
We not going for that no more. It was cool maybe when Ferguson and we was marching and we was trying to do all our, fight the power. But now we need quality black-owned businesses, and hopefully that we can represent that along with what you're doing with Black Friday Report.
Absolutely. Now, before going to the next spot, I was actually going to ask that. So, Danielle, I want to get your thoughts. What was your thoughts on their reaction? Because that did surprise me, because you saw the TikTok of them saying like, oh, who is Keith Lee? One, I'm curious as to who greenlit that, because no part of me thought that was okay. You gave your thoughts on it. Danielle, I'd love to hear your thoughts. When you saw the real Milk and Honey, and as John mentioned, there are two different ones here. There's the Milk and Honey, and then you have the real Milk and Honey. We're talking about the real Milk and Honey. What was your thoughts to their response to Keith's review on them?
I was half and half. I was surprised and then I wasn't surprised. Because it's sort of like when we as a black, normally us as black people, when we get a little bit of money, we just get cocky. So in that instance, what I saw with that response was a little bit of cockiness and a little bit of, I've arrived, so what is your opinion? I don't know who Keith Lee is. Like, it was so on par for the average cocky black owned business response. And now what you're seeing is they're backpedaling now. Even when you was reading the house rules, that sounded really niggly. And it sounded really, I don't know who their PR person is, but I'm Keith Lee in this one. Get rid of them, because they dig y'all in two holes in a period of less than a week. And then you had to come back with a proper apology. Like, and I feel like, and I could be wrong because I'm not an ATL, but I feel like you came back with that proper apology because now you began to see the numbers dwindle. And I think too, what people have to understand is, as a black business, there are not many, again, I don't think we realize how powerful the black dollar is. I don't think we realize there's not a lot of Caucasians or other ethnicities that walk into these establishments and spend their money. And it's a crazy thing. People will wait because the food is good and because this is a black business. They'll sit down and wait for an hour just to support you. And that's the response you give. It shows that you don't care, but it also shows the true colors. I'm sorry, whoever the owners are, but I'm sorry, those two responses, you had the first time to get it right. You came back with the second time with that house rule. No, bro, it don't fly with me.
Yeah, and let's go into that. So I read some of the house rules earlier. I'll read just a couple just to refresh you. Right. So there's a couple on here. The one that surprised me the most: no modifications to the top 10 brunch menu signature items. If you have a food allergy, please choose another item without their allergen. No reservations unless you're Barack Obama. Hey, there's exceptions to every rule. No table hibernation. Others got to eat too. Just a couple things here. 18% gratuity added to parties of 5 or more to checks larger than 105. I feel like that's becoming standard across the board. But at the very end, they say, remember, this is supposed to be fun. Let's talk about house rules. What are your thoughts on businesses having house rules? Because I feel like Atlanta is unique.
It's unique, and we could talk more about that. The house rules thing seems to be kind of a double-edged sword. Because I have to also put myself in a restaurant owner's shoes, right? And there are, I'm gonna keep it real. Chris Rock had a bit, niggas versus black people. Let's talk about that. So those rules feel like it's meant for niggas. But I think me as a black person that doesn't identify myself in that way, don't think I carry myself that way, I find it very disrespectful that I'm coming to spend money with you and you're telling me this is how you want your money. And I think that in the service industry, there needs to be a removal of ego. When I was coming up, I used to work at the Gap. So I would have to get people clothes and fold their clothes and show them the dressing room. I left my ego at the door because I knew in order for me to do the job well, I had to be able to be of service. Absolutely. And ironically, service and servant are kind of like parallel. So ideally, my thoughts is when you go into the service industry, it's a sense of humility. Like, I am here for you. For this time that you walk in my door, I'm gonna make you feel like king, I'm gonna make you feel like a queen, and then in exchange, if I do good service, you tip me and you come back.
Right.
Cardi B said something funny in her response. He's like, do y'all want niggas to come back? Because some of these businesses are not behaving that way. But my idea with the house rules, again, it's a double-edged sword for me because I had to think about myself. If I was a business owner, I know some of the stuff that niggas do. Right. Like, I know some of the stuff that how we can be. So you got to kind of set those standards. So I think it's a little bit of, I kind of can empathize with black business owners that have to communicate with a certain audience and be like, hey, this ain't how we do stuff. Remember the guy in Houston? Yeah. They were twerking on the thing. If I'm a black-owned business, my stance is I wouldn't probably want that because y'all gonna maybe damage my furniture and I gotta replace it. Right. But at the same time, I gotta be willing to accept my customer and the culture that they have. And I think that's something we want to work on. But we can, definitely pass it around. But I want to talk about, these White House rules too that you know, come up.
The Bahamas, we're a country that thrives off of hospitality because tourism is our number one industry. So in terms of that, we have, like, when you go to a majority of the restaurants here, we give great service. Like, of course, there's the powerhouse, there's Atlantis. I love Atlantis. And even though that's a powerhouse and it's owned by a foreign entity here, most of the people, all of the people actually that serve you on the front line, they're Black and they give you excellent service. They go above and beyond to serve you. And then, of course, we have local businesses here that are run by some of the locals here. Mexicable is definitely one of my favorites. And every time I go in there, I have a great experience, great food. The energy is great. And there's also, I found a little hole in the spot now called All Your Favorites. I name it no more. Come run us this chair and give you one some more names drop. But yeah, those are some of the spots I found. But in Atlanta, I ain't gonna lie, I never really ate. When I come to Atlanta, let me tell you guys go. And I'm gonna name drop you a little bit, and this is only one because y'all closer to John them than I am, so give your money. Slutty Vegan is one that I always go to. Now, when it comes to actually sitting down and eating in restaurants, I haven't had the experience because it just seems like, especially on a Sunday, these restaurants in Atlanta is be so overcrowded. And I've also never experienced the grade of hospitality. I'm not saying that it's terrible, but the grade of hospitality I experience here, I don't necessarily get that in a lot of restaurants in Atlanta.
John, let me bring you back because I do want to be fair. I've seen and saw, heard of house rules that aren't white. You brought it up. I mean, there are by white establishments. You brought that up. Yeah. So I want to talk about it because it's not just Black-owned businesses. It's not. Nor do I want this conversation to be solely, bashing Black-owned businesses. Yeah. But white restaurants have it too. They do. And most time the list reflects don't look Black. Exactly. Don't wear things that your culture wears because we don't want your culture in this establishment. I think that's the issue, right? You got white folks setting rules for you and creating barriers of why you probably can't come as you are in our space, but we want your money, we'll take your money. Yeah. And you have Black-owned businesses doing the same thing. And at the end of the day, I don't think people respect the Black dollar. Yeah. They just don't respect us. They don't understand the power. They want our money, they'll take it all day, but they don't respect it how it's gonna come in our terms. Like I just mentioned, the young ladies twerking. Yo, if that's the culture and they up there spending money, then maybe get some couches that can be durable. Some twerk. Maybe get some twerk couches. Maybe be innovative where it's like I should be working with my customer and not against the customer. Okay. And I think that they get big and bad when it comes to us and be like, yo, what y'all not gonna do is this, that, and the third, because that's a lack of respect. I said it before. We don't fear each other.
We just don't fear each other, so we can pop big shit like it's no big deal because there's no repercussion. Who's gonna check them? You know?
Why do you think the service structure is so different or so unique in Atlanta?
Well, that's a whole question. I mean, a conversation because Atlanta is not your typical place.
Yeah.
Atlanta is a city of influencers, black influencers. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? My garbage man got 100,000 followers. You know what I'm saying? The valet got a following.
That's a fact.
My fitness trainer is a CEO of a fitness apparel company. Everyone's got like clout or egos or positions attached to them. And again, like I said, the service industry is about ego, like no ego.
Yeah.
And so I think the issue is that when you come to these restaurants, because I've had bad experiences, got me waiting forever. You know, when you come to these restaurants, a lot of these bartenders and waitresses and waiters, they got some, you know, some extraness about themselves because they might be really doing some big shit.
Yeah.
But I think that's been the issue here in Atlanta is that you have a city of influencers and you have ego mixed in with the service industry, and ego and the service industry cannot mix. That's why I think people get a lot of bad experiences. Again, service, servant. We play that game for an hour or two at your restaurant. I tip you good. I feel good. I leave and I come back.
John, keep it a buck. Atlanta has gotten bougie. Let's start there. Atlanta has gotten bougie, and I love it at times. But I think what happens in terms of our community is we forget. We forget and we act so highfalutin that we can't see people at eye level anymore. Again, it's that arrogance. And I've heard a lot of people say when I come down to Atlanta, you know, Atlanta ain't the way it used to be. We've had a lot of people come in from other areas, and you're right. They do want to come in. Atlanta is like the Black Hollywood. It's the Mecca. It's turning into a big entertainment city, which I love. Again, I love Atlanta with all my heart. But a lot of the locals tell me, you know, since this has began happening, the culture of Atlanta has changed. And Atlanta used to be a town where you used to get that down home Southern love, and people never used to feel like they were above anybody or anything like that. But so I've been told that's been changing. And so I've also seen with some of the people that I've interacted with that they get bougie and they get highfalutin, and you think that you're up here and everybody else is down here. And we see that with the way that Keith is giving a review on these restaurants. Like, I only see the man eat out of maybe 7, 8 restaurants he reviewed. 2 restaurants he actually ate from. And that was because these were the places where I could have gotten something to eat. And he said it. The moment he walked in and people saw who he was, and because of his following, all of a sudden you could get a table for me. All of a sudden you could find food for me. All of a sudden you can open up for me. Like, that's the mentality that people have. And at the end of the day, if we really say we love Black people and we build community and we about this thing, it shouldn't matter how much followers I have. I am human just like you, so treat me with the same love and respect.
Yeah, Danielle, so I'll comment on your comment about Atlanta being bougie. I think the issue is that Atlanta is a very, very unique place. Enough so much that the Black people here aren't your typical Black folks. And I think what's happening though, because remember, you know the saying that says, act like you've been here before? Mm-hmm. A lot of us in this terms of history of America, Black folks have been treated like slaves, civil rights, and now you come to a city that's like you can be a boss and run a company. So I do think some of these business owners have not been in a position of power, so they don't know how to wear it with a level of grace and humility. That was a response what we saw with the Real Milk and Honey dude. If he was a man that has always been in a position, hopefully it would have been no big deal. Like, real bosses understand that critical feedback is important for their business. But he could have been maybe, and I don't know his history, so if you're watching this, you know, send us an email. But he could have been someone that just became like a sensation overnight, that grew up quickly because Atlanta is being special, because Atlanta is a place of opportunity when it comes to Black people. And that's the irony of it and the hate and love, because when I go other places, I much rather prefer an arrogant Black person over a timid ass Black person that has no self-esteem, that has no confidence, that's scared to walk into white spaces. These Atlanta Black folks is different. And we can't be like, I think, overcritical of that, because when I'm traveling, I be missing sometimes that flavor. I be missing that sister that walks through the mall that thinks she all that. I be missing a brother with his chest up feeling like, yo, he running 5 different businesses. Because in other places, when I see that, it reminds me of defeat when I see Black folks with their head down, act like they don't know how to speak, act like they don't know how to do nothing, act like the white man's their savior. That stuff irks me. I'd rather not see that versus coming to Atlanta and dealing with this arrogance. We can navigate through this, but I much rather prefer my black folks with some bop, some confidence to them.
But also, too, when you think about the culture of business in America, I think the way that we're taught to do business, like people, oh, I can be a good person, but I can be bad in business because business is just business. So I think a mixture of course, subconsciously, I think slavery will always have an impact on a black person and white people, but obviously not in the way that it impacts us. But just the culture of business, I think that's the culture of business in America. It's like, oh, well, you know, that's just business. Business is business.
It's cold.
It's cold. It's like, and to me, that's not who I am. Lil Russell, you know, I love Lil Russell.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for a minute, but when I heard him say it, I was like, oh, the way he structured it was just, you know, if who you are as a person, the way you do me in business, if you're going to do me dirty, I can't look at you any different because, oh, you stepped over here and we're handling business.
I think the business model is changing, though.
I do agree because a lot of people are not riding with it.
Because you can't, and that's to give the audience some clarity on why you guys have been even seeing me on this show.
Yeah.
Is that we're trying to give transparency because at one point I believed in not appearing at all. I wanted to be just behind the scenes, in the back. But the idea of it was that maybe it can create some warmth about our brand. Maybe people can feel they can get an insight of how our brand operates and trying to build our connection that Symphony just mentioned. So that's me thinking that, hey, we need to kind of understand what's happening in the times right now. People want to know who they're supporting. And hopefully we've been doing a decent job with y'all in terms of the feedback that you do give us. Send feedback.
Yeah.
Send feedback.
I love feedback.
Send feedback. Because I told y'all before, don't support us just because we black. That feels like a whack ass medal, like a participation medal. Rock with us because y'all one, being on code, we want to support black folks, but two, holding down the code, it's like y'all do a great job. And that creates a relationship for a very long time, and that's what we want to create here.
And there are a lot of black-owned businesses that are getting it right. I'll close this out with this, especially some black-owned restaurants here in Atlanta. We've gone to Omni as a group. You know, they greet you as king and queen. We've gotten food from there, so shout out to Omni. I've been to Tassili's. I've never had a bad experience there, and not saying that I never will, but if I do, I'll give that feedback. But I've had great service there. Black Coffee, I know there's 2 locations, but I've been to one in Local Green as well. My physical experience going to Local Green was amazing before I met the owner. And I used to like push it on social media all the time. And when I physically go to that location, I've always had a good experience. So there are black-owned restaurants that are doing it right in Atlanta. There are black-owned businesses that are getting it right. You know, seeing that shift. They may not get it right all the time, but give that feedback. Because what I don't want, don't pop up in a black-owned store talking about, oh, this is why I don't support black-owned business, but you're still wearing Gucci. Because Gucci done came out with so many things against black people. And I've heard somebody tell me like, yeah, I know they did this, but it's Gucci, so I still got it, and that's crazy to me. So don't have no Gucci slides, no Gucci shirts, no Gucci shoes, talking about how you don't like supporting black-owned businesses, because Gucci has shown numerous of times they don't care about the black community.
You mentioned something, though, about therapy.
Yes.
To the black business owners, go through therapy. Y'all in particular, if you own a black-owned business and you a boss, you need some therapy because you are in a position of power. We need healed people with power. We don't need people that are dealing with traumas, that was picked on, that was bullied. Because some of these brothers and sisters.
And you've gone, to be transparent, make sure it's out there, you've gone there.
Oh, yes. In case y'all be like, he gone.
Exactly.
I've also have experienced therapy. But some of y'all got trauma on y'all that you need to heal from, that you need to not be wearing if you're in a position of power, while you can probably take real critical feedback and understand the importance of that and understand and reflect. So that's not a direct shot to the gentleman that over Real Milk and Honey, but I'm saying some of y'all that want to be bosses so bad, let's be good bosses. And you got to be able to make sure you're mentally in the right place because this game will test you each and every day. So I do want to put that on the bosses. You guys are supposed to be leaders. Let's lead by example. Let's get rid of these traumas so it's not coming out in how we run and conduct our businesses.
Wow, that's good. I'm going to end it there. Now, something I do want to transition to because I think this is a great segue when we talk about having those conversations as business owners, because business owners do need community. We actually have an event, Everybody Eats. That I'm super excited about. 2 black men that own businesses right here in Atlanta are coming together to put on this event. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Because you're one of those.
Everybody Eats Sundays will be hosted once a month at our studio here at Hype Plus. You'll be able to tour our studio. The game plan there is that we want to link up with like-minded bosses, like-minded entrepreneurs, leaders in the industry, and be able to really provide solutions. My business partner on this is Kenny T's out of Kenny T's ATL. They're a t-shirt manufacturing company, and we're partnering with them, and me and him have great conversations behind the scenes, and we want to bring that to the forefront, be able to talk about something. This is not one of the places that we're going to try to act like we've figured it all out and we're talking down to you and come hear about my highlights of my success. It is not that. This is just us two young brothers trying to scale our businesses, hopefully that you can relate to the conversation. That is what we're about. Man, so yes, this Sunday coming up will be our first one, November the 5th, 235 Walker Street. You'll be able to meet me. If you've seen this episode, come to me and tell me you see me. I might can slide you a dope little gift on just like showing your love for us. Overall, the game plan is to build community with other bosses, other like-minded people. Everybody eats. That is one of my mottos here in our studio. If we got it, you got it. And this is what it's about for us. So please come on by on November the 5th, 235 Walker Street, Atlanta, Georgia. And let's have a good conversation. And lastly, we're having a pitch tank.
That was gonna bring it up.
That's gonna be an opportunity for some of you business owners to come and talk about your business to the rest of us in the room. The best one of the night that we'll vote for will leave with some support from Hype Plus. We'll promote your company across our network, as well as Kenny T's is gonna be printing up some t-shirts for your company to have as well. So we're gonna be building this out. There'll be other ways we look to support these businesses. But man, Hype Plus is definitely, I'm excited about what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm excited about seeing y'all faces in person. Come and meet me. I'm not weird. Y'all can say what's up. But
You
man,
got your vest on?
I might bring the vest too. Come meet the vest. Come meet
Shouldn't
the vest.
have said that.
Come meet the vest.
Moving along before I ease you up out of here, before the vest just pop on you. Something else I really love, Hype Alerts. So when we talk about feedback, when we talk about hearing from our audiences, we're not just talking about it.
Right.
We're being about it as
Right.
well. Hype Alerts. We're going to be introducing that. Tell us a little bit about Hype Alerts.
Hypealerts.com right now. I'm always excited when, I was talking with our head writer and we were kind of working through the concept of what this project is. And it never seems like your work is done. And so it's always exciting when we can introduce new things to our audience. Our newest thing right now is hypealerts.com. This is our way of giving our audience, you watching this right now, to be able to tell us what you want to see on the platform. There's stuff that we're not always catching. There's viral conversations that are happening. There's something in your neighborhood, or even someone that you know wants to be interviewed by us, or even yourself wants to be interviewed and have a story to tell. Our job here is that we want to help capture as many great stories as we can. So by going to hypealerts.com, you'll be able to go to a form. It will ask you some basic questions. Is this an interview? Is this a throwback story, or is this just a regular news breaking news that you want to be able to share with us? We'll get it directly in-house, and we'll hopefully, if it's a dope enough story, we'll be able to put it out to the audience here. So hypealerts.com, you guys are going to be seeing it. If that's hype, it should be at hypealerts.com. Make sure you guys have that in your mind. We're trying to blow that up. If that's hype, call it out and send it to hypealerts.com.
I absolutely love it. I'm super excited to see what those stories are. And you will receive credit. So it's not one of those where we just take your story and run with it.
Oh, yeah. We got to make sure we credit y'all.
Right. You will be credited as well. And just I know you don't like to, talk about numbers and all that publicly. But we get over 7.7 million views per month. And I think that's important to say, to show that, hey, we don't want to take that for granted. We understand the audience that we have. We understand that the eyes that are on our content. So we want to make sure that it's reflecting our community.
It's just, it's gonna hopefully build an even tighter connection with the audience, because you guys now have the power. Again, if you see something, you went to a comedy show, there was a heckler, different examples. Maybe somebody that dealt with the police and it was like kind of messed up. Hypealerts.com. Just hit us real quick. You give us an update and we'll be able to take it from there.
Danielle, don't clap because he might come back with a vest. Who knows? Danielle, before we head out, what do you have going on? And of course, how can people keep up?
I like the vest. It is odd little bit of character, you don't be expecting the vest. Especially for somebody I've never seen John ride motorbike in my life. Like literally, like I don't get it. I just like some of y'all. I just started seeing John this year too. I used to call him the voice. Sound like a voice from heaven. Like what's going on? So yeah, that's John. Hey John. John is the leader. But just to wrap it up, I want to make sure I echo the sentiments of Symphony and John as well. Please have grace with our leaders, our Black leaders, because I think we need to remember a lot of us, slavery was not too long ago, and a lot of us didn't have an example of what a leader looked like. So we just try to figure it out. So I'm glad John is doing that on Sundays, and he's very open and honest and transparent of what's going on. We literally just trying to figure all of this out. So what I have going on is on the weekends, you can find me on Our News Bahamas. You can go to their Facebook page. You can go to their website and see exactly what's going on in entertainment in the Bahamas. On Tuesdays, you can find me on Comedy Hype. Very soon, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Danielle. It's up now. There are episodes that exist there now, but we are in the process of rolling those out very, very soon. And then you can find me on Instagram at DEE A Miller. You can find me at DEE A Miller on Twitter. I don't tweet much. And then you can also find me on Facebook at Danielle, DENIELLE. That's it for me. And y'all make sure to support Symphony Thompson as well with the Black Friday report. And Black Coffee Atlanta. I love y'all too.
I appreciate you so much, Danielle. Yes. So I know a lot of people ask me sometimes, how can you watch the episodes? You can now go on theblackfridayreport.com, and the entire season is there just one click away. You just type in your email. Again, make sure you also go to hypealerts.com. I'm super excited about that. I personally will make sure that I be looking at these so we can see what type of stories that you all want to tell, because I do think it's important that we curate these numbers that we do have in the right manner, because I care about our community and I care about the stories that we put out as well. But again, thank you, Danielle, for joining me. I know I kicked John out. John in his vest, he's probably going to go get it, so let me go ahead and wrap this up again. You heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts about the criticism that Keith Lee is receiving after reviewing Atlanta's Black restaurants? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.